What is up, everybody? What is up? It is a Thursday night. It is 9 p.m. It is an extra episode of Shooting the Shit Uncensored for your week, and I know you're excited. It is me, your motherfucking host, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin, and tonight I have a very, very special guest, ladies and gentlemen. I have the owner of Kingdom Wrestling Entertainment on this evening. Yes, that is right. The El Jefe of Kingdom has decided to join Shooting the Shit, and I'm really excited to have him on. But before I bring on Mr. Adam Graham, I just want to take a quick second, a quick pause, a quick fucking moment to thank some sponsors up in this bitch to help me keep the lights on, or the strobe lights, or whatever it is I got going on up in here. But first up is A-Rock Designs. Now, A-Rock Designs is that company that you always hear me raving about. They make custom cups, tumblers, hoodies, keychains, t-shirts, you name it, they make it. They could even monogram your dog, but they do not recommend it. They made me my custom CM Punk tumbler because let's face it, I am a fucking mark for CM Punk. I am yet to put beer in this, not because I don't like beer. I love beer. Well, actually, I'm drinking White Claws now, but I'm not going to admit that to anyone. Oh, shit, I just did on a live stream, but oh well. But this cup is absolutely amazing. It keeps your cold drinks cold, your hot drinks hot. So when I'm sitting here doing shows for you people, I've got a fresh drink always, and it keeps me going all show. So definitely go check out A-Rock Designs on Facebook. Check out arockdesigns.com. Ashley does amazing prices for amazing product and definitely worth checking out. So that's A-Rock Designs. Next up is Signal Studios. Now, Signal Studios is that recording studio based in Sydney, Australia. They make custom tracks for absolutely everybody and anybody. If you're a independent professional wrestler and you need some new entrance music, you need something hip, something fly, something dope, something woke, whatever it is the kids are saying these days, you need to hit up my boy Rafi from Signal Studios. He can mix, master, produce, and send that bitch out anywhere in the world. He works with such amazing bands like the Cicadas band that provide my amazing intro song for my show, and every show on the MWA podcast network has an intro from the Cicadas band provided and recorded at Signal Studios. So please make sure you go and check them out. Guys, it is going to be a long weekend, guys. There is a lot of live wrestling. Make sure you go out, support Aussie wrestling, support indie wrestling, support your local independent professional wrestling company wherever you are in the world. But guys, without further ado, I'm going to bring him out, the man, the myth, the legend, Adam Graham. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how are you doing?
Man, I'm pretty good, bro. I'm pretty good.
I can get used to El Jefe.
El Jefe. Man, you know what? It was just something that I just threw out there, dude. You know, like maybe it can stick. You know, maybe if you have the gimmick of the bad guy, owner, boss on shows, you could call yourself the El Jefe. You know, it's got a nice ring to it.
I like it. I like it. We can be friends. It's good. It's
good. Awesome, man. Awesome. But man, look, Kingdom Pro Wrestling based out in Maitland, if I'm correct, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Like, dude, like an area like Maitland, which is, like not as big as what Sydney or Melbourne is pro wrestling, really big in that area, in that community that they have their own promotion. Like, it must be like fans were clamoring for it, right?
It's funny you should say that. One promotion, there's three. So, spreading that fan base around three promotions, and, one of them being obviously a larger one in Newey Pro Wrestling. And you've got another promotion up there in Cessnock as well, which is close to Maitland. Plus you've got us. So look, there's a lot of wrestling, a lot of independent wrestling happening in the Newcastle Hunter area. And it's, it's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I think that wrestling is now cool again, right? Like, wrestling was cool like in the mid to late 90s going in, and then like I think probably around 2006, 2007 it wasn't cool anymore, but like I think from about 2016, 17 like to now, like wrestling is cool again, right? Like it's more like, I think that the people that are non-hardcore wrestling fans are now starting to either go to shows or start taking an interest in it, because I think subculture and pop culture now, wrestling is cool again, right?
I think so. Look, I'm a bit of a wrestling nerd, so I've always thought it was cool. But look, I've grown up. I think the first wrestling show I watched was it was probably SummerSlam '88 from memory, and that's showing my age. But I then watched it evolve, and I watched it come into Australian TVs in '97, '98. Once that Attitude Era started hitting the TVs, and that's when it was cool. And then you're right, it went through a phase there where it wasn't so cool. And you're right, it's coming back. A lot of Australian talents sort of signing overseas. So there's vested interest in the domestic product as well. So I think there's some. Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm biased. I think it's cool anyway. But but yeah, you're right. It's cool again.
Dude, 100%. And, just want to take a quick second to give Lowrider a shout out who's tuning in. Guys, make sure to check out Lowrider's show on the MWA podcast network with his brother, Boogaloo, a tag team known as the Dead Presidents, with their show, Nights to the Gimmick Stable. Make sure to check that show out, guys. But yeah, look, I definitely do think that wrestling is cool again, and I think that it's people have sparked a vested interest in it as well. And I think independent professional wrestling is probably even become more exciting, and people are wanting to sort of check out that more underground sort of scene. And I think that the Australian wrestling scene, and as you've seen, we're starting to see Australian talent getting signed, and there's a plethora of talent down here. And that's what I think the world is starting to take notice now of Australian wrestling. But as far as Kingdom, how did that come to be? What sort of made you decide I want to start a promotion and get into this crazy world of wrestling?
I was probably drunk and crazy one day and thought, yo, that'd be a great idea. And here I am 2 years later. Some said he doesn't deserve to be in this industry, but here I am. But how did I get into it? Look, my family has been running wrestling in the Hunter Valley since 2014. That went through Hunter Valley Wrestling, which then has evolved into what you see now, which is Kingdom Wrestling and Entertainment. And that's would be in July. That's 2 years now. Time has flown. I came on full time when we brought James Storm over towards the end of the tenure of HVW, and then boom, it just happened. And then I've done a lot of learning in that time. Being a wrestling fan, and then having to learn how to book shows, wrestling psychology, in-ring psychology, how to tell a story, who's the best person for a certain story, all these different things. And I'm learning as I go. I've got a lot of good experienced people around me who, help me, go in the right direction. But man, I just love the art form of it. It's something that, excites me, gets me up in the morning,
Oh, absolutely. But I want to touch Hunter Valley Wrestling. So why did you guys decide to close that down? And was it going to be you just wanted to get out of wrestling, or was there always the plan to go into Kingdom?
Look, I had a goal of setting up my own shop, definitely. As to the timeline of that, why did HVW shut down? Look, I'm not gonna touch a lot on that, because that's not really my place to jump into. That's Grant's place to jump into. But long story short, Grant or Lindstrom wanted to move into entertaining and performing again on a full-time basis. And anyone that's been a promoter, or anyone that runs anything that they're passionate about, e.g. a podcast, understands that certain times your time has got to go into certain things. And if you're focusing on being an owner or a promoter in some way, shape, or form, something's got to give, which was the performance aspect of it. So Grant wanted to move back into that, and that offered me the opportunity to sort of set up my own shop, which you see Kingdom today. So that's sort of how it came about anyway.
And I think as well, like it would be incredibly hard to be a performer and also be the booker of a like, you know what I mean? Like, and the owner of a promotion, because it's like you've not just got to worry about your match on that card, you've got to worry about every other match of that card. You got to make sure that, you know, the venue is taken care of, that, you know, concessions and, you know, everything else is running smoothly, as well as going out there and performing in front of, you know, a fan base that you guys have established.
Absolutely, and like I said before, something's got to give. Your match is going to suffer. The psychology of it's going to suffer. The how the chairs are set up, how the fans enter the venue, what music's playing, entrances. You know, are the right stories being told in the middle of the ring? You know, something will give if your full attention isn't on something, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And how did you feel coming into, you know, the wrestling business as a promoter, putting shows on and, you know, dealing with talent? Because the wrestling world, while everybody understands that kayfabe is long gone and dead, it's still a very tight-knit community where you're either in the business or you're not. You're either a wrestler or you're not. How did you find breaking in? Like, did you find that challenging?
Yes, yes, I did. Out of my depth is a term I'm happy to throw out there. You know, I'm a transparent person, and anyone that works for Kingdom knows that. Um, and look, even simple terms, understanding simple terms, I was like, I just bluffed my way through it. But I was lucky to have a lot of good guys like Slade Mercer, Lindstrom, Sid Parker at the time, Genghis Kong. You know, a lot of the Keegan Brettle. You know, a lot of these people in my roster that could help guide me and just help educate me as I went. You know, and I'm far removed from the person that started, which is great. You always learn, whether you're in the ring or whether you're promoting. You know.
And it's a good mentality to have. Like it's very easy as an owner of a company to say, this is the way I want things done. This is the way that this is going to be. But to be able to take away and learn from people that you have working for you that have, you know, more experience in certain levels of the business, the better of a promoter you're going to become.
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, running an event was never my issue. You know, that's my background, running events. So, you know, the learning aspect was the wrestling industry, and also understanding that if I ever make the slightest mistake, Twitter will go mad, ready to jump on me. You know, and it's like, you know, that was a very steep learning curve.
It would be, it'd almost be like, as you said, like, you know, you felt like out of your depth at times. Apologies. You know, as far as like, you know, once you sort of got through, but did you ever have talent like, like, I suppose in a way it's like if talent wanted to question you, you just say, well, fuck, don't work here. But like, did you ever have run-ins with certain talents? And I'm not gonna expect you to name names that were kind of like, sorry, who are you? Like, what have you done? Like, was there any pushback, I suppose?
Absolutely. In the early days, like, look, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to slam people.
No.
You know, but you know, there were people who, you know, saw a new guy and went, "Oh, I'm going to up my fee," or, you know, certain people in the industry who, you know, aren't wrestlers but are a part of the performance art, whether they're taking videos, taking photos, whatever they're doing. They went, "Oh, new guy. I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to up my fee." And then when I turned around and said, "Hang on, you know, fair's fair. We're all in this together." It's, you know, there's ask anyone. There's not $1 million in running wrestling shows. It's about the passion. It's about the art form. You know, and when I turned around and unfortunately said no, to a couple of people who obviously hadn't been told no, I can't do that. Sorry, I want to. Don't get me wrong. I want to do it, but I can't. I copped a bit of pushback. Yeah, definitely. And being a business professional, I'm like, well, that's how it is. You know, I respect your opinion, but you know, if you don't like that and if that's your attitude, then it's probably best that you move on. And people didn't like that.
Yeah, and I think as far as like time went on, that's obviously sort of been lesser and lesser as time's gone in, especially now 2 years in, running successful shows. I can't imagine that you're getting a lot of pushback at this moment.
No, I don't think so. Not now. We've got a good, solid team, and that's by design. You are who you surround yourself with. And we've
Yeah,
got the right people, and we bring in the right people with the right. It's not so much about the ability; it's about the right attitude. You come in with the right attitude, understanding that we're all in this together. We're all trying to promote a product to make us all, look good. Not so much look good, but to entertain the fans. And that's why we do it. Well, that's the impression I'm under while we do it. And so no, not so much now. I think I've earned a bit of respect now. At
yeah,
first I was just a new guy. Who are you, mate? And now I think I've earned that respect with the guys who have been with me for a couple of years. They understand who I am, what I'm about. They understand if I can't do something, I'm a man of my word. Stuff like that. So.
And you mentioned earlier like storyline psychology and things along that nature. Now, Kingdom Pro Wrestling, what goes into putting the shows together? Are you trying to tell long-term stories? Are you trying to tell stories for shows, or are you trying to tell like more of like a week-by-week storyline? Like, how does your storyline and your creative process unfold for Kingdom?
So at the moment, we don't obviously have a weekly show. So it's very hard to tell a weekly story. What we do is, like, for example, this year we're going to have 7 shows for the year, which is, which is a lot for a small to medium sized independent. This is the first time, obviously, with the COVID break that we've been able to have this many shows and sort of tell stories with this, I guess, depth. So I guess that in a nutshell, the creative process is I've got a couple of people I work with, and we bounce ideas off each other. We look at particular, main storylines, and then I guess supporting arcs that sort of come in and around that filter in. Like we have an election storyline happening at the moment where you've got Ferguson and Keegan Brett all sort of battling for the presidency of the kingdom, which is an ironic little pun of ours because kings aren't elected. They take their throne. So where presidents are elected. So that's our little piss take, if you will. But it's like a GM role. The person that wins, we've worked it into it's decided in the ring as opposed to a vote, and and whoever takes that mantle will be that general manager style role. But that's outside of the main card championship storyline. That's outside of the mid card championship line, storyline, plus little other rivalries within there. So what we try and do is we go, okay, this is where we are now. We've got the end of the year, which is our main show, which is I Am Champion, which is our second one of those. It's kind of like our mania, if you will. It's our big show for the year. Sure. We go, okay, what do we want to see there? How is that going to be the biggest show of the year, and why? And then we go, okay, cool. That's what we want to do. How are we going to get there? What stories do we need to tell to lead up to get the most out of that particular event, whilst entertaining the fans as we go. So, and no matter, it's like writing. I did music for about 10 years. The more you write a song, the more you write a storyline, you go back and go, nah, that's shit. You come back, you rewrite it, you do it again, and one person's a main card champion.
It's never right.
No. No.
Well, that's what they say. They even say like WWE creative has changed half an hour before the show goes live. It's your brain's always ticking, and I suppose it has to be in order to be able to tell a compelling storyline, and I think as well it also needs to be that the talent needs to be invested in that storyline and see that vision for it and how it unfolds.
Well, Slade Mercer, Matty, he's a great bloke, and in one of the things he said to me when I first started was, no matter where you are on the card, every person is just as important as every other person. So you can't just put all your effort into the main card storyline and just give other people, sort of, mid card matches and sort of expect them to be happy long term. Everyone deserves to be creatively fulfilled on a show, and
Yeah.
that's what we try to do. We try and have everything mean something, or everything's working towards something. Everyone's an integral part of the show.
So you mentioned this match coming up with a stipulation the winner's going to be the GM role. Did you ever want to be on the shows yourself, like in that authority figure role, or was that something that you didn't want to input yourself out there on the shows like that?
I've got this weird thing in the back of my mind, which is until I get in there and take bumps, until I get in there and run the ropes, get a few bruises. I personally feel I have no right to get out there and perform in front of the fans. That's just my opinion. I've got a roster of people who have, bumps, bruises, worked their asses off for many, many years to get into these positions. And just because I run something, I just get to go out there. No, that's just me. I'm not saying anyone else that wants to do that. That's fine. But for me, we're going to look at some training this year. And once I do that, 100%, it's something that I probably will look at. But it's just a personal thing from my end. It's in my head. It's a respect thing for the guys and girls that are sort of working for Kingdom. Until I do that, until I get my bumps and bruises, so to speak, that's it's not going to happen until I do that.
Yeah, no, and I can definitely respect that and can see that sort of side of why you wouldn't do that. And it's a respect to the people that have gone in there and taken the bumps and bruises, the broken bones, the cuts, and everything else, because it's not easy what those guys do in the ring. And yeah, a lot of guys and girls make it look absolutely seamless. But I wanted to know, Kingdom, the name Kingdom, like why Kingdom? What is the meaning behind it? Was there something more to it for you, or you just thought Kingdom Wrestling Entertainment sounded good? Like, what is there a meaning behind the name?
Well, if you ask my brother, he'll tell you it's the stupidest name he's ever heard. Stupidest name he's ever heard. But we won't ask him. Look, I think growing up, I just had a bit of a fascination with the medieval aspect of I guess I'll say pop culture, but that, like Game of Thrones, we use that as a classic example. It's a bit of a combination between pop culture, historic events, and different aspects of I guess I'd even incorporate some sci-fi in there. But anyway, long story short is I was always fascinated with that sort of stuff, and I lived in the East End of Newcastle. Probably about 5 years ago. And then it's not really an interesting story, but I'll tell it anyway. I come up with an email address called East End Kingdom. And then I just sort of, when I was starting to think of names, and I started to think of I come up with the dragon logo, which sits in Kingdom. I thought of dragons, I thought of castles, I thought of medieval, and I thought of a kingdom. And like I said, it's not that interesting, but it's just got that sci-fi. Everyone enters the kingdom. Yeah. It's a different realm. That in my head, it's a fantasy world.
I like it. But you know what? Like, you look at some of the promotions out there, like Freedoms and Shimmer and all these other names. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be World Wrestling Superstar, or you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't need to be like a traditional name, which is so unique. And it's like, one of the promotions in Melbourne, which is Six Below Fight Club. I spoke with the owner from them, and I really dug the name. Like, I like uniqueness in wrestling, and pro wrestling is a world where things have been done, and recycled 1,000 times over. And so when you can have like a unique and something that stands out and makes you stand out from the crowd of that world of professional wrestling, that is a huge accomplishment, and it's a huge thing to take notice of.
Yeah, agreed. There's a lot of like people say the word, routine, like it's a bad and a boring thing. But there's a lot of routine, a lot of tradition, and a lot of things within, I guess, the wrestling industry where you're right. You'll see a lot of companies that similar names, whether they're a federation or they're a different form of a hybrid that's come up through the history of say North American wrestling. And you see what we do. I purposely changed my name from Kingdom Pro Wrestling to Kingdom Wrestling Entertainment because this is controversial, but we're not pro wrestling. We're not. I don't have a training school. We're not continually training. We're not. We don't have those policies, those procedures, those inbuilt aspects of what I call professionalism yet. And to get there, it takes a little bit of time. And so we focus on the story aspect and the entertainment aspect of it, and that's why I changed that name from that. And once again, I think it's a respect to the industry. I'm not trying to. I don't think we're that, so I'm not going to call us that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And you mentioned the training school. Is that on your plans long term to open up a Kingdom Wrestling Training Academy?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to start probably a little bit smaller. We're going to do seminars and training and things like that because there's a lot to put into a curriculum or a way in which you train people. And a mantra and a philosophy and doing it the way you believe people should be trained. And you can't just go, okay, starting a wrestling school, we're having tryouts next week. You can, but it's not going to accomplish what we want to accomplish anyway. So yeah, it's definitely on the cards. It's something that the training seminars and all that sort of stuff is something we're going to roll out this year. And hopefully we can recruit some local people, get them involved. We've got some good people to bounce ideas off and to train and to show you the way to do things. A lot of interstate people that are going to be coming through, and yeah, so it's an exciting time in that aspect of it. Anyway,
is there much in the way of like pro wrestling training down in the area?
Yeah, there is. You've got Nui Pro, which is obviously the first class place. Yeah, first class place you go to get trained in our area, and hats off to them. They run a tight ship. They do what we love to do, but to get to where they are, that takes time. It takes time. It takes establishing your reputation, and it takes a lot of it. A lot of guys that work with me, actually train out there, and there's a lot of effort put in behind the scenes. More than 1 or 2 people can do. So you got to grow. You got to be patient, and you got to grow.
Oh, absolutely. And it seems like you've definitely got, a smart head on your shoulders as far as you're looking at from a business aspect of, take the pro wrestling side of things out, but from the business aspect of understanding where you're at, where you need to be at, and what you're planning to do to get from where you're at now to where you need or want to be at long term. And I think that's the biggest thing is the planning and the understanding. And I think a lot of companies that, and not just pro wrestling companies, they try and rush certain processes to get to that end goal quicker, but at the end of the time they fall multiple times there. But if they take their time, strategize, you get there, and it's a smooth transition from here to here.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I'm not pretending to be cool, calm, and collected. I get excited like an ADD kid with all these ideas. I wake up and I go, Grant, we're going to do this. We're going to have the I don't know, the Intergalactic Championship. And he's like, mate, no, you're not. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're not doing that. Just settle down. And so yeah, I've got quite a lot of people just to, sometimes when I get a bit excited, just to say, come on, mate, pull your head in.
But it's good but you know what, to have that excitement is needed as well, because it's fresh ideas. And I think as well, from not coming in from a pro wrestling background, you can sort of come with like a fresh pair of eyes and a different perspective, whether it be for storyline, character, or even for show and championships.
Yeah, look, I think, see, that term, it's an interesting term. You say with the fresh set of eyes. And I did the exact same thing when I started. I came in with this quote unquote fresh set of eyes. And my brother would say to me, mate, this is pro wrestling. Can't do that. And I go, why? Why can't you do that? Just do it. And then it's 2 years down the track, and they're going, someone comes to me and I go, nah, you can't do that. It's pro wrestling. They go, why not? I'm like, full circle.
But that's the thing. The wrestling world is such a different beast altogether. As far as like, you know, from how like. For me, I do another podcast, Wrestling with Tragedy, with former ECW star Angel Medina, and it's like we have conversations like, yeah, we should do this for this, and he's like, no, dude, we can't do that, or no, dude, it doesn't work that way. What do you mean, dude? This is wrestling. This isn't the corporate world. It doesn't work like this. So it's like my eyes have also expanded, just sort of being attached to something like that, and sort of going, oh, okay, so now I'm pretty much the same as you. Sit there and go,
yeah.
You know, here fans are, no, bro, that sucks. Like, no, that doesn't work. I feel like I've become jaded.
I was about to say the same thing. We become those aged, jaded, bloody people that are going, oh, those kids can't do that.
That's a shoot, kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing as well. Like, it's good to have that experience around you as well, to sort of, because like, if you don't know that world and the world of wrestling, and you don't have someone to sort of guide you, like, you can just imagine some of the people that just all sort of fall flat on their face because they just don't know the proper protocols and even the proper way to be respectful in the ring or be respectful around them.
Well, just on that, like I've prided myself on being what I call a little innovative with some of our matches. We've got what we call the Eliminator, which is a match where there's 6 people involved. The first 2 people start, and they go for 5 minutes, and then every 2 minutes after that, someone enters, and no one can be eliminated until everyone is in the ring. So it's kind of like a mixture between a gauntlet and a rumble and a form of elimination match. But it's built off of established matches. It's an idea based on established matches. And there's probably some people that out there, like we come up with also a Pirates Playground match for a character we have called Caesar. One of our most over characters. He's a pirate. He's a rum swigging pirate, and when it's basically just like a late 90s, early 2000s hardcore match. It's family friendly. There's no blood, trash cans, trash lids, frying pans, nice family friendly, violence, and but like it's built off established matches. Historic matches, like I didn't just come in and just make shit up. It's an amalgamation. It's being creative, and isn't that what this is all about?
100%. And as far as like the audience that you guys try and attract, do you go for that family friendly show vibe for all of your shows? Do you do certain shows which are adult entertainment? Or when I say adult entertainment, I don't mean like hookers and strippers and shit, but like you know what I mean, like adult themed storylines. But is it the family friendly show that you want your brand to be known as?
Look, it's not PG by any means, but it's definitely family friendly. So look, you might have light swearing, but there's no F's, there's no C's, none of that sort of stuff. I've even gone down the route, and once again, a little bit of controversy. And it's not that I'm opposed to it. It's not that I'm against anything, but even intergender stuff, just kids watching men, beat up the women, being a father of a young girl, each to their own. I'm not against it, but that's not something I promote, and it's not about, pushing the boundaries of equality. It's just about what I want my audience to see, and so there's little things like that where I try and keep it as family friendly as possible, but it's not PG by any means.
Yeah. And I think, you mentioned the intergender wrestling. I used to be not a fan of it myself until I was able to see, a few matches in the last 12 months where like I can appreciate good wrestling between 2 amazing performers. But I completely get it. Like, I was raised in the 80s and 90s, and the thing that we're always taught is don't hit girls, right? So
Yeah, that's
in doing that, there's always like it's that awkwardness of it, like seeing a dude hit a chick. Like even though like it could be an amazing wrestling match, there always
yeah.
is that moment of like, ooh,
It's not so much about, the people in the wrestling industry get it. Like I watch it and I get
mm,
it. I go, yep, no problem, get it.
yeah,
But when you've got first timers, your little kids that don't understand it, it's not for me. It's about you know return business. I
yeah,
want them to come back, and if there's a potential variable that they may not, I'd
mm,
prefer we find another creative way to entertain them. But yeah,
yeah.
that's just me.
Oh, 100%. Like I completely understand where you're coming from. And, having that family friendly, entertainment as well, especially like, in the community that you guys are in as well, that,
Mm,
when you guys have shows on, you want the families to come out and have that night at the wrestling and really enjoy it, and I've seen some of the characters that you guys have on your shows, like
yeah.
the one you mentioned, and also the Buccaneer, which is
Yes.
funnily enough, I wanted to ask you about that because in a lot of Aussie wrestling, the over the top characters, and we'll call them the over the top gimmicks,
Yeah.
aren't necessarily seen as much these days. Like there are gimmicks, but a lot of it is more based on athleticism and also like the person who is a professional wrestler and the character based off that real person behind them. But the over the top gimmicks, that's something that I have an appreciation for because, as I said, I'm a kid from the 80s and the 90s, bro, and I appreciate it like a good cheesy gimmick. As far as like bringing in those sort of style of gimmicks, I think it works well for that family audience. But how do the adults sort of take to those gimmicks as well at your shows?
Well, I guess breaking it down between a reaction from a child and a parent and just the boys on the beers, all I know is that every single time those pirates, their music hits, everyone just goes crazy. And that's
Yeah.
all I care about. That's all I care about. So and the fact that they can handle themselves in the ring, that also helps too. So
Yeah, and but that's the thing. I think sometimes the over the topness of characters can also get like I said, if I was at the show, I'd probably be marking out as well, thinking this is the coolest shit because of the time frame that I grew up in, being a fan of wrestling as a kid. So I can definitely see that they would be like big fan favorites.
Oh,
But
absolutely. And you've also sorry to interrupt you, but you've also got Keegan as well. Keegan's rocking around with his VB pants, his VB shirt, his VB hat, his ridiculous mullet, his VB tattoo. Just people. Yeah, I don't know who can't relate to a dude drinking beer. That's what I'm doing right now. So,
yeah, look,
so
100%, man. Like it's it's a relatable story, it's a relatable gimmick, and I like as well that you are bringing in bits of talent from Sydney and other places as well to come and give that feel to your audience as well. So you're running 7 shows at the moment. You were saying for
yep,
this year.
yep.
Do you think next year you're going to try and push that to maybe 10 to 12 shows?
Look, it's a delicate balance. I see. Well, there's another. Well, out of the 3 promotions in my area, there's one who sort of pushed the envelope, a show every 4 weeks, sometimes 2 shows in 3 weeks. And in my opinion, in the area that we're in, yeah, yeah, it's going to affect your turnout. It's going to affect your gate. Um, I don't think it's sustainable to be running live events and expecting, maximum crowds every 3 to 4 weeks. It's just in our area, it's hard. Maybe in a metro area, it's probably more,
Mm.
um, you know, it's probably reasonable, but it's going to affect your crowd. And if you're not being innovative and changing up the way in which you're telling your stories, and people, I don't know, you run the risk of boring people, and they're not going to come back.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. You have to be able to tell a compelling story from bell to bell in order to
Mm.
be able to have people wanting to come every single week to a show and leave them hanging for more. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. I think monthly shows, are definitely something, that in probably metro areas work well. But even then, like if there was like promotions running different promotions running every single night in Sydney CBD, maybe like a couple of the shows would have a good turnout, but the rest of them, because it wouldn't be special. It would just be, it's just a Tuesday night. Go watch a wrestling show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, looking maybe if we were the only promotion in the area, or there was just one promotion in the area, potentially that's sustainable. But yeah, just in the area we're in, it's a big challenge. So and look, I was under the impression that I'd take over from HVW and I'd just take their numbers. No, I pretty much had to start again. Like
Mm.
it was a big wake up call for me. One that almost drove us out of business, to be honest.
Mm.
But we stuck at it, and we worked hard. And I know it sounds bad, but COVID's probably the best thing that's happened to independent wrestling since we've come back. The crowds have been strong. People are happy to get out of the house.
Yeah.
So like it's been quite positive since we've come back.
And what's your long term goal with Kingdom? Like, what is your 5-year plan? Where do you see the business in 5 years?
Look, I want to be feels like a job interview. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Sorry, bro. Fuck. I asked the hard questions, dude.
Nah, it's cool. It's cool. No, look, we need to first thing that we're very passionate about is promoting from within. We've got a really solid talent in Tyler Gunn, who he's still quite new to the industry, but he's one of the youngest, hardest workers in and around our area. We want to help develop him. We've got Vinny Vane from Western Sydney. He's geez, he'd be almost pushing veteran veteran status. But once again, a tremendous talent that's underutilized in the independent scene. We've got Lindstrom, one of the most aggressive natural heels. Like you walk past a guy at KFC and you just want to punch him. He's that annoying. We've got we've got these young people that we want to sort of develop and also bring back our Slade Mercers, incorporate our Sid Parkers and our Carlo Cannons and our other established people in the area to just mold that together and just develop it and build our fan base. Until we can build our fan base in our area, that'll be, we won't look at expanding to sort of other territories until we do that. I'm looking at bringing in a women's championship, a tag team championship, expanding it that way. So look, there's lots of different things that we're looking at, but mainly it's just about developing our people.
And as far as like bringing in like tag team championships, do you have enough teams and depth for tag team champions?
So at the moment, no, and that's a part of the game. We go, okay,
100%.
yeah, we're gonna launch tag team championships. All right, cool. When? Okay. Well, how do we get it ready? Let's start establishing some teams. Let's start incorporating more tag team wrestling. Let's start, having people invest in those teams. Let's brand those teams, and then boom, roll it out that way. You can't just go, boom, here's my shiny jewelry, and
Yeah.
that guy's a champion now. And people do it, and each to their own. It's just not the way I got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, do the build for it till then there's a need and there's a desire from the fans to have champions. And
exactly right.
I definitely completely get it. And I think that that's probably, looking at it, strategically as far as like a booking standpoint, the right way to go about it than as opposed to just getting a couple of nice shiny tag belts and strapping them on to, two of the guys or girls on your roster and saying, here's a fresh belts, go for it, so.
Looking at, and it happens, well, you're watching the industry, it happens more than we'd hope, and yeah, I'm not afraid to sort of, put my opinion out there, and quite controversial in that way. It is what it is, but I wish a bit more time would be put into some of the some of these processes and some of these divisions that get rolled out. That's all. Because at the end of the day, it's the fans that are watching. It's the fans that are, potentially losing out from something that's been rushed.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's slow and steady wins the race, and it's like less is more sometimes. So holding back before sort of engaging too far into it. But look, what have you guys got coming up in the next couple of months with Kingdom?
So we're in the process of probably putting on our most amount of shows in a year, which is exciting for us. We had Honor and Glory in House of Elite, which is the showcase of our Elite Championship, which is just the one that's just gone. Our next one is our Rumble, our first ever Rumble, the Great Kingdom Rumble, which is May 23rd, which is on a Sunday. And then we moving on to, as I was saying before, the presidential storyline is going to be settled at the election. You'll see some of the artwork out there. We've got a really cool guy, Jay. I think it's Enzo. I think his last name. Correct me if he's watching. I apologize, mate, if I've butchered your last name. But the guy that does our graphics is amazing. I've never worked with such an easy to work with guy, and he's put together this what are those? The Purge movies. He's 30 men in the Rumble. 30 people. 30 people in the Rumble. And yeah, anyway, he's put together this Purge type graphic, which is exactly what's happening. It's a kingdom on the the brink of revolt. There needs to be an established lead. There needs to be some leadership there, and this is what it's all about. And then we move into the next show. Sorry, that's on Saturday, July 10th. So we go back to our Saturday shows. So we'll be Saturdays from that show onwards. And then we move into the Eliminator, which is that match I was telling you about. We've actually branded a show around the Eliminator. There's there's usually one for the World Championship. There's usually one for the Elite Championship, and then various other undercard matches. And then we move into our first ever Halloween show, which I'm hoping that Vince McMahon isn't watching. He probably isn't, but it's Kingdom's Halloween Havoc. Which is branded. If you go on and have a look at our Facebook page and have a look at how we've branded it, once again, Jay's done an amazing job. But we may be pushing the boundaries there on some artwork. And then we end the year with I Am Champion, which is our biggest show of the year. It's our second version of that, so it's I Am Champion 2. And that would be our 7 shows for the year, which is a big year for us.
That's amazing, dude. Like that sounds like a very solid rest of the year for you guys. It sounds like you've definitely got a long-term plan booked for where you guys want to see where you guys see yourselves being as on the Australian wrestling scene. And look, it's exciting times ahead, and I hope you guys can really grow it and get your product on some streaming platforms, so other people besides the Maitland locals can enjoy the shows that you guys are putting out, because I hear a lot of positive things coming out of Maitland from your shows. And mate, if I didn't just have a newborn baby, or my wife have a newborn baby a week ago, I would definitely be heading down to a show, but it's probably going to be a while. But make damn sure that I plan on making my way down to Maitland at some stage to definitely check out a Kingdom show.
Yeah, well, you're more than welcome, mate. Just let me know. Look, I've got a just under 2-year-old. So from what I heard on the podcast last night, it's your third kid. So you know what it's all about, mate. So
it is, man. It is. So,
but saying that, sorry to interrupt you again. I'm an interrupter, but if anyone wants to check out our stuff, you can jump on our YouTube channel. And that has Jimmy is Pro Wrestling Productions. He does a great job across Sydney, and he comes up and does our shows as well. So the filming platform in which we have to put our product out there, we think it's quite good for an independent. So jump onto our YouTube, you can see the last 4 shows for nothing.
Absolutely, guys. Make sure to check that out. We'll make sure to put a link in the YouTube video. Guys, as well, thank you very much, Adam, for being a guest on Shooting the Shit. It's been an absolute pleasure having you join me this evening. Guys, thank you so much for everyone tuning in live for me. Also, guys, we are now streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/MWA World. Do me a favor, if you are following us, hit that subscribe button, give us a subscribe. That little bit helps us to be able to bring you more quality shows more often and increase the value of the product so you guys get to enjoy it even that little bit more. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And Adam, I'd love to get you on again anytime. So next time your shows are coming up closer, let's get you on and let's do it again, man. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
No worries, man. And guys, we'll catch you next time. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Australian time, which is 7 a.m. USA East, 7 p.m. USA Eastern for Alan Kwee Funk Show. Get Funked here on the MWA Podcast Network. He's going to be sitting down with the WCW Demon. That's it, Dale Torborg. So make sure you tune in for Kwee Show tomorrow at 9 a.m. Australian time and 7 p.m. USA Eastern. Guys, we'll catch you next time. And until then, take care and all the best. Peace.